Hello?
Beep, 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 beep. Hello, welcome to the court of the Edijester. How are we? Here I've been having a mull. We love a good mull. Now, couple of things first, important things. Now, Dennis of the Kavanagh, who many of you will be familiar with, member of, founder of, and general do-gooder in the Gay Men's Network, along with Hassan Mandami, Mr. Menno, and a few others, has done a piece to Mike. That's the only way I can describe it, where he sits and he talks. And it's great. It's like a stream of consciousness. So he's given his thing. He's talking about whatever he wants to talk about. It's really fascinating, and it's good stuff to make you think and start to consider. It's great for critical thinking. So I've asked him this morning, I've messaged him saying, here, you, put it on thy Twitters and pin it. So go to his, with a bit of luck, he's listened to what I've said. And he's pinned it to his Twitter, so his tweet. So you can go and see it. He's got a Substack. So he does the talk to the mic thing, and he discusses all sorts of things, politics and trying to understand what's going on, and the left and the right. Asks himself a number of questions. So that is very, very well worth listening to. If you've got the time, please do. So that's our Dennis. Secondly, Mr. Menno. Hey, Menno. Menno has done a rather brilliant video examining in detail the situation with puberty blockers globally. So again, go to Menno's channel on the YouTubes and you will find that as well. Okay, so that's the first two things. Next thing, if you want to be a warrior teacher, come and fill out the form and we'll have a chinwag. All right, looks like it's going to be October-ish, I think the next one will be. So, plenty of time to have a chat and find out a bit more about it. And then, subscribe to this, share it, do the usual. Now, it's been interesting over the last couple of days because we've had a few anniversaries, and I wanted to highlight one. George Floyd. Do you remember this George Floyd chap? Remember the one that put a gun to the stomach of a pregnant woman? That bloke, George Floyd, who sent the world mad for a time. I remember it. Do you remember it? There was all these lunatic, bloody leftists and mad liberals out wandering the streets, shouting Black Lives Matter in the middle of Manchester. Because they were all nuts, right? They were all nuts. So I've been thinking about that because it's the anniversaries of this business. And that was when I got a message from one of the professors I was working with on the EDI project, who said to me, what the hell is going on? He said, I've got students cancelling lessons left, right and centre, saying that there's something called #ShutDownSTEM in response to and support of black people, right? So, well, the idea was you shut down whatever was going on in STEM and you spent the day instead studying about your own privilege and your position in the intersectionality table. The checkbox mind of the mad left. Right, she's got that much, he's got this much. Oh, he's above her and she's above him. That intersectionality mindset that makes people nuts on the left, right? So that's what it was. So they said to me, go and have a look and see what's going on. So I did, right? Because they wanted me to talk to the students I was working with on EDI. And I discovered that #ShutDownSTEM, #ShutDownSTEM, which is what it was. Yeah, it's probably still in existence. You can still go and look this all up. 30,000 academics signed it. Just shows you how mad the lefties are, right? They signed it. Turns out that it was a hoax from 4chan, right? Fascinating, isn't it? Hoax from 4chan that was then retweeted by a couple of self-proclaimed queer, leftist, Marxist journalists in New York. And it was picked up then by Ben Shapiro, and the rest, as they say, is history, right? But thousands fell for it. Thousands. Mostly on the left, but they fell for it. I didn't. So I got all the details together when it first appeared, when the #STEM first appeared, where it came from, and there was a meeting with me and the students, and if they could have strung me up, they'd have strung me up, because the left don't like it when you tell them that the left is wrong. Have you noticed that? Right? So these left and liberal-minded students who were all completely entranced by trans and Black Lives Matters and all the rubbish that came with it, were absolutely fuming with me because I'd exposed the truth about the leftist grift that is EDI and DEI. So this was at the point where I was going, right, okay, we've got to be very careful here because the whole damn thing's going wrong. And realising that it was something that was completely corrupt and that it was all dressed up, looks nice, EDI, DEI, looks very nice, all that, but actually it's as corrupt as it comes because it comes from a section of the left that is completely corrupted by ideological thinking, just the same as the trans rights activists are completely captured by this, corrupted by this ideological thinking that they have that they go along with, right? So I kept mulling about that a few years back and thinking, gosh, that was extraordinary. And then it got me thinking about the reactions from the students and also what I saw from people generally, and particularly those in the gay community who, as well as being, completely nuts anyway, they all went for, oh my God, Black Lives Matters. And then the next thing you know, they were all Trans Lives Matters. And it was all, it was all doing what it does, which is all come together under the one headline of critical social justice or wokery or whatever you want to call it. And then they all embraced the whole thing and they became members of the cult, right? This cult of critical social justice. And this cult of critical social justice, one of the main underpinnings of it is equality, diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, inclusivity, whatever they call it, because they lie, whatever they call it, it all comes under that banner, right? So you've got critical social justice. And then you've got everything else underneath it. You've got critical race theory, you've got queer theory, you've got gender identity ideology, you've got extreme environmentalism. Any given set of people can be in a cult. And that's what I was mulling over, was the sorts of things that a cult does. When one of the students, for example, stepped outside of what their correct narrative was and what happened. Same with, for example, the detransitioners I've spoken to, what happens when they attempt to leave the cult. Scientologists, same thing, what happens when they attempt to leave the cult. So any group that gets its knickers in a twist when it doesn't get its own way can display cult-like behaviour or illustrate that they are actually a cult in their own right. But what is it? What does it mean to be in a cult? It's really quite complicated. But who does this stuff? Andrew Gold, he's done a lot of work on this, hasn't he? But there are a few things, a few key indicators that will tell you that somebody's part of an ideological cult rather than anything else. That first and foremost, their thinking is cult thinking, which means they can't get past a certain point. So the first thing that you would see when somebody A, attempts to leave the cult, or B, challenges the cult in its thinking, is that they go completely ballistic, because a lot of these people are psychologically damaged or sociological or are unwell in that they have a particular mindset. Because if the cult is based on one thing and one thing only over and above everything else, for example, victimhood. If the cult is based on victimhood, like the Nazis were, Mao's lot, all the communists, that stuff, it's always victimhood. The leftists, extreme leftists, it's always victimhood. Power and oppression, victimhood. I am a victim, blah, blah, blah. If that's where they start from, and they've been going for a while, which all of them have now, they will tilt to psychopathy. It's that simple. All victimhood movements fall to the psychotic, and they all kill. All of them, in the end. That's exactly what happens. We know this from our 20th century history. You ask the warrior teachers, I'll tell you, right? That we know this from our 20th century history. So what we've got is, the first thing is, when you challenge the cult, when you challenge anybody that's in a cult, or anybody whose thinking is cult-like, what you get is an extreme reaction to what has happened, and an immediate attempt to prevent anyone from seeing the cult in any light other than they want you to see the cult in. So in other words, they will have to protect their brand of particular cult-like behaviour, as they attempt in their intersectional thinking, which is like the spreadsheet tick box nonsense, to make sure that whatever it is that they're doing is higher on their intersectional ladder than whatever it is somebody else is saying. So the person that's leaving the cult, for example, the detransitioner, or those trying to leave Scientology, or those trying to leave the extreme elements of the left or the right. You get the same thing. You see that same cult behaviour as they recognise that people may be thinking differently than them, or using a different way of seeing what's going on. So that's one of the first things, is you get an extreme reaction, which is indicative of some kind of psychopathology. So there's something wrong there mentally. Then after that happens, they will go for the individual that has left the cult. Look at what happened to the detransitioners. You look at what happens to those that speak out against Black Lives Matters, or anything else for that matter, right? That is tied in with cult-like thinking. Then they go for them, right? That's what happens. And the primary means of what they do, first of all, when they go for them, is reputation destruction. That's the first thing they do. Scientology does it. BLM do it. Trans do it. Any extremist side of a given ideological thinking framework will do it. It's just cult behaviour. They go for you with reputation destruction. So when one of the students I was dealing with at the time said, hang on a minute, this is right, the rest of them went for him like you wouldn't believe. They went for him like you wouldn't believe. Same's happened in the village, in the gay village. Gay man goes, hang on a minute, I've looked at what Barry's saying and it's right. And now he's ostracised, people won't speak to him, and they're out to trash him by any means necessary. So you get this incredible attempt at reputation destruction. They'll do whatever it takes to destroy the reputation of the individual that might actually highlight the fact that they're the grifters. Right? So that's the most important thing. You'll see that what is reputation destruction, very powerful, very powerful. So that's what they do next, is reputation destruction. Now, once that fails, which invariably it does as the cult gets bigger, but more and more people say, hang on a minute, there's something wrong here, that's when the psychopaths really take over. So it's like that's the next phase, is the psychopaths take over, and that's when the first bullet will enter the first brain. Because that's how it works with leftism, right? That's how it works. Go back in history. Pol Pot, Mao, the Nazis. You go back and you look at what the historical nature of it is. All of them are victimhood cults, and all of them display the same cult-like patterns of behavior. Right, so denial, what is it you call it? Darvo, right? So you see Darvo in these people when they don't get their own way. Denial, accuse, reverse, victim, and offender. I think that's what Darvo is. This is something I've learned from the women. Darvo. So in other words, it wasn't me, Gov, it was them, and you should go after them. So that all comes along with it. So you can see there's key points there, isn't there? That when somebody tries to leave a given cult, like BLM, like trans activism, like Scientology, is that you get those key things go on. Denial, accuse, reverse, victim, and offender, which will include reputation destruction. And then if that reputation destruction doesn't work, they will go to people that are aligned with the individual they want to get, and then they will go after the people aligned with that individual, or they will attempt to align that individual with extremism of some kind or another in order to hold up their vapid, stupid belief system. That's how cults work. It's not complicated, is it, really? So when I was mulling on BLM, I was thinking, well, that's exactly what BLM are like. That's exactly what trans activists are like. And if you examine any other cult behavior, they behave in the same way as BLM and trans rights activists, which is that they will go for reputation destruction. They'll be pissed off because they've been uncovered for what they are. And that their intersectional ladder means that they get stuck in trying to work out who it is they should and shouldn't support. And then they get angry and they start spitting and venomously as well. They'll go for reputation destruction and the individual. So, leaving a cult like BLM or like the trans rights activist or any cult for that matter is not an easy thing to do, right? And it's particularly when those cults are predominantly on the left. That's the issue, is that most of this is coming from the left. If it was 1930s Germany, it'd be the right. It's not, right? So it's the left, unfortunately, that's the problem. And we'll see more of this. As things move forward, as we begin to coalesce into understanding that the enemy of all of us is equality, diversity, and inclusion. Diversity, inclusivity, equity, whatever you want to call it. Victimhood movements are the enemy of us all. And we've got to include in that, whether we like it or not, the Equality Act and the Equality and Human Rights Commission. Because they shouldn't exist. It is them that is driving this. It is them that is causing this. Okay? So it's all that shit is the type of stuff that means we end up with conversion therapy on BBC television in the form of I Kissed a Boy with that vile predator Lars. That's what it is. Right, that's what it is. Because all of it is designed to pit one against the other. Because they are, by their very nature, cult movements. It's interesting, isn't it? I think. Anyway, anniversary of George Floyd. That's what brought that on. Funny, innit? Whatever it takes to have a mole. I'll see you later. Go listen to Dennis and Menno. Ta-da!